Hello everyone and welcome back to another video. This is Eisenherz, and just a few days ago I was talking to one of the best cEDH players in the world, Evan, aka FreedomWaffle. And we were looking through some of his recent brews, like his Shurikai list or the Kinner list he played to win the 8K Royal Rumble tournament. And as we were looking through his deck lists, I noticed that Evan was playing a bunch of cards with similar effects that did not see any play just a few months ago. Well, at least not directly. I'm of course talking about clones, but not the clones we used to play in the dockside clone meta, like Phantasmal Image, Phyrexian Metamorph and Flash Duplicate. Evan is playing multiple artifact and enchantment clone effects, such as Copy Artifact, Copy Enchantment and Mirror Mate. You might know that clone effects are my absolute favorites and I used to run them all, but after the dockside ban they almost completely vanished from the meta. If you look at this graph, which shows the popularity of clone effects in cEDH tournaments since the banning of Dockside Extortionist, you can see very clearly that some of the narrower clone effects almost completely vanished from the meta, like Phantasmal Image and Flash Duplicate. However, it seems like the clone effects are back, just in a bit of a different form. Slowly but surely, these narrow creature clone effects are getting replaced with more versatile effects such as a Mirror Mate and Copy Enchantment, because they allow you to copy some of the strongest cards in the format. So today let's change things up a bit. Instead of me giving you my usual analysis, let's allow Evan to explain to what extent the clone meta is back and which clone effects he recommends to play in the current meta.
Hi, I'm Evan Pierce, or FreedomWaffle. I am a tournament grinder in the United States. After the bans, I've been primarily playing Kinnan and Shurikai, and I've been teching these decks to win in the Rhystic Study meta. So for a long time, it's been really apparent that Rhystic Study effects are the most powerful thing to be doing, because you're drawing off of all of your opponent's spells, and most decks need to storm to win the game, at least to some degree. I realized after switching from Tim to Crom that without black tutors, it is much harder to consistently get a Rhystic Study effect in play in the first couple of turns. And the previous solution was running more mediocre versions of the same effect. Cards like Archivist of Ogma, Polywog Prodigy, Trouble in Pairs, Fairy Mastermind, etc. And those effects are okay, but I realized that in so many of my games, at least one player at the table would put a Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora in play. And so these copy enchantment effects actually just end up being additional copies of Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora. You can even keep hands with your payoff being a early copy enchantment, and most of the time you get rewarded. And in recent tournaments, I am way more consistently having a draw engine, a Mystic Remora or a Rhystic Study in play, sometimes even multiple copies when I draw my own. And this just creates insurmountable advantage. Multiple copies of this effect just gets better and better and makes it so hard for opponents to push through. And furthermore, having these extra draw engines has allowed me to run more free interaction like Misdirection and Commandeer, because I'm drawing more cards and I'm able to break parity with my opponents by running more of these pitch cards. These cards are also able to hit other powerhouses of the format like Smothering Tithe and Necropotence, which often just win the game on their own. And so that just makes these copy enchantment effects even more consistent and versatile. After testing these effects for months now, I've found that copy enchantment and Mirror Mate are consistent enough for just about any deck, but aren't quite as necessary in decks with black tutors, because you can just tutor up your Rhystic Study or Mystic Remora on the early turns. Also, I've found that Clever Impersonator has been a fantastic effect, being able to copy not only enchantments, but creatures and artifacts too. And in decks with green tutors, this is very powerful, being able to turn your creature tutors into a Rhystic Study, a Mystic Remora, a Smothering Tithe, a Seedborn Muse, whatever you need. Thank you so much for having me, Eisenherz, as well as creating content for my new website, learncedh.com. LearnCEDH is a great place for new players to learn the format, and it features courses with content from Eisenherz and other creators. There's also a decklist library where you can find primers and lists for tons of cEDH decks, and it's all supported by data from EDHtop16.com. So make sure to check that out, and thanks again.
So instead of playing mediocre cards, Evan recommends playing clone effects that can copy the strongest engines, which allows you to have multiple copies of Rhystic Study or Smothering Tithe in play. Of course, some creature clone effects still have their place in cEDH, like Mockingbird, Imposter Mech and Phyrexian Metamorph, because they are cheap, versatile and, in the case of Imposter Mech, even combo pieces. I'm personally really intrigued by this development. It shows very clearly what the best and most defining cards of the format are at the moment, and as much as I think that we need some drastic changes regarding the ban list, I love the fact that my favorite type of effects have found a place in cEDH again. Although we have not reached a point yet where literally every deck plays multiple of these clone effects like in the Dockside meta, I think it's safe to say that the Rhystic Study meta is developing in a similar direction. And that's it for today. If you have any questions or ideas, make sure to leave a comment down below, and if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like, share and subscribe. Thanks for watching, this is Eisenherz and auf Wiedersehen.